Alright, it's going. Let's double check this is working. Move around over here. Hitbox. Should be live. Alright, cool. I think it's working. Good, and the stream's good, and we're good to go. Alright, so I'm going to, I guess, tweet this out. Well, I'll wait a minute. Mute my mic temporarily. Alright, looks like someone is here. What's up, Andy? Andy Taylor. How is it going? Getting warmed up here. I'm good. Awesome. Yeah. I woke up like a half hour ago, so I'm kind of still groggy. But today's going to be fun. I'm going to be showing some really cool stuff. I'm gonna get. My goal is to get everybody to a point. Everybody who views the stream, and it looks like I just lost a viewer. Oh well. Tweet this out. Where was the tweet I made? And you're back. Cool. Awesome. How's the stream, Andy? Is it pretty solid? Is it pretty good? I resurrected an old laptop that I am streaming from, kind of to prove the point that you can you don't need a lot of heavy duty equipment to make games. I have way too many phone things out. What else? Stream is good. Awesome. That's actually really exciting. This laptop is so old. I think I got it when I started not freshman year of college. When did I get this? At least 3 years ago. At least 3 years ago. It's just a Acer laptop. 4 years ago? Wow, 4 years ago. It was like an i3, 4 gigs of DDR2 RAM or whatever. About 2 weeks ago, I tried to boot it up and was like, oh, I'll just use it like a Steam machine. And I couldn't get anything to work on it. So I wiped everything and put Windows 8 on it because I had a free copy of Windows 8. I hate Windows 8. It's confusing. It's miserable to use. The only thing that's useful is you can search everywhere. There seems to be a search button everywhere, and that's the only good user experience design on the thing at all. It's awful so far. But Windows 8 is significantly faster on older machines than Windows 7, surprisingly. Obviously that wasn't the case with Vista and XP, but they're doing something right if that's the case. So I'd say it's pretty cool. I guess we could just get started. There were some other people that said they wanted to come, but I'm recording this. So I'm recording this. I'm also what I'm gonna do is basically every week after I'm going to do this every Sunday morning when I can help it. I've got some events coming up in like October and September that is going to make it have a few off weeks, but Sunday morning it's going to be kind of like Game Dev Church, and we aren't going to sing Game Dev hymns or anything. Maybe we'll have some. Yeah, I'm not going to go down that road. And so yeah, and after every week I'm going to basically take the highlights and put it into a short video showing what we went through. The reason I want to have this live is because one of the things I found when I was learning game development, it was I had no one I could go to ask like simple questions like, hey, this guy in this video did this, I can't get my stuff to do that. What am I doing wrong, or is there a bad or good way to get started type of things. Yeah, it's just a million questions people have, and I figured the best way to do it is in a setting like this. Hitbox and Twitch have enabled people to just live stream whatever, so why not make a free class type of situation. Good old tea. So, an introduction to me. Andy, I don't believe you and I have met. If I have, feel free to remind me of where. I don't get out much, so it probably was online, if anything. Alright, so an introduction to me. I've been making games for about 2 years now. I started off in web development when I was a young teenager, back in like freshman year of high school. From there, I've gotten to the point where I now, in my free time, I just program in Java. At work, I do JavaScript, HTML, CSS, all that kind of stuff for websites, web applications. So 2 years ago, I was doing interactive data visualizations, and I was like, hey, this is kind of cool to be able to create kind of something people can interact with. But it gets, I don't want to just work with data. What else can I do? And so I picked up an HTML5 game dev book. And I was like, hey, this should be fun. I always thought that you couldn't make games without investing a ton of money in Unreal Engine or anything. And so I was really, really happy that I could pick up a book. I found a free ebook, and I could start making little games that were super simple, and it was awesome. So I want to basically share that. And it's to the point now I have 2 apps, one game and one app on the Ouya console. I've made a couple $100 there. I've done many podcast interviews, many for me, which is like 6 or 7. I'm actually on one this afternoon, hanging out with a couple of the Ouya devs. My game Super Pixalo is also on itch.io. You can grab it there. I'm just doing a sticky on. Feel free to ask questions. Yeah, so feel free. Yeah, I have a game out on itch.io. It's done okay on desktop. I've sold like 7 copies. People have been really generous in giving extra money, and that's been nice. But I do this as a hobby. It just doesn't make enough money for me to do it as a day job. I've got a family to provide for, and so it stays as a hobby, stays fun. No one tells me what to do, and I like that. That's what day job is for. So, all right. So with that said, basically the goal of this is to be able to provide a way that people can ask questions live. I can kind of play around with figuring out what works, what doesn't, and teach a free teaching environment. And then I can get some instant feedback from whoever is watching. And you guys can tell me what works, what doesn't, what you like, what you don't. So, with no further ado, I'm going to go over tools. So, the tools that you need are all completely and utterly free. Again, the system I am on is an Acer Aspire from 4 years ago. It's just got like a dual-core processor. It's not even like a quad-core. It's got 4 gigs of old RAM, which is not like the DDR3. It's actually significantly slower. It doesn't have a solid-state hard drive or anything. I have an Amazon. This I got for like $250 4 years ago. This is my mouse. I use an Amazon Basics mouse. You can get them for about $11. It's the best mouse I've ever used. And I actually have 3 of them because I have one in my backpack, one at work, and one here. We use Macs at work. I would stream on my work Mac, but I want to kind of prove the point that you can use whatever. Whatever's freely available, whatever's cheap. I was actually going to start on Linux, but I feel like not enough people use Linux for that to actually be useful. So I'm just going to use Windows. Not enough people that I know online and stuff. So if you feel free to ask questions. If you have questions, I'll answer everything to the best of my ability. I won't brush over questions if I can help it. You can ask anything like why I do Ouya, why I've chosen to do like this tutorial. Well, I'll actually talk about that now. The reason I'm doing HTML5 as the game framework is to make games in. It's because it's free. You can just put your game on a website for free. People can go play it on the web for free. And then you can also put it on something like PhoneGap or Cocoon.js and put it on a mobile device. So the 2 I'll be using examples is an iPhone, and then I have an old Nexus one Android phone. So high performance and low performance, and then we will basically down the road be putting it on both and giving it a test. So the tools you need is the Chrome browser. Firefox is fine too. I'm going to be using Chrome a whole ton, so you might as well just use that. It's free, yay! It's on OS X, Linux. You can follow everything along in whatever operating system you choose. So yeah, it looks like we lost all our viewers, so I'm just gonna chill. Oh no, Andy's back. All right, good. So you can download that, accept and install. I already have it downloaded. The next tool we're gonna need is Brackets. This is an open source, which means free, code editor for WordPress web designers and front-end developers. So this has a super helpful feature, besides the fact that it is free. And that feature is normally for like Phaser and some web development frameworks, you need to install like a virtual server on your computer. And what this Brackets does is it enables you to virtually run a virtual server right from the application. So I'll show you that right now. I'll install this. It will hopefully get installed at some point. Preparing to install. Sounds good to me. Install. Alright. Drink some tea. While it's installing, Andy, do you have any questions, comments, concerns, hesitations? Do you make games yourself? Do you play games? Do you watch games? What is your flavor? Alright, this is done. Does it launch automatically? It didn't launch automatically, so I'm going to go looking for it. If you've never used Windows 8, this is how awesomely horrible it is. There's these big squares. The text is nowhere near the icon. Even here. I find that really confusing. I immediately look for text right under here. It's over here. That throws me off. Desktop looks like an application icon. Took me forever to find this. I don't even know what half these are. What is that? What is that? I guess that's music? Why isn't that like a music icon? Earphones. Yeah. I play games starting to make games. Great. Do it. It's fun. More people should do it. Alright, so I click this. Brackets. There's Brackets. So let me show Brackets. Cool. It's just, whoops. It's a super simple little text editor, basically. I'm going to close out of this. We're going to make our own, what is this? Okay. So we're going to make our own folder for doing everything, so you can just ignore this. But the reason why this is great is this button. So you click Live Preview, and it launches a browser window that's running a server, basically, in it. So you don't have to do anything. That's how awesome this is. You don't have to install anything extra. You just need Brackets, and it takes a lot of kind of like troubleshooting out, because before Brackets came out, you'd have to install like MAMP or WAMP, and if you mess up that installation, then you're really screwed and you have to start all the way from scratch, and it sucks. So the development kit we're going to use is totally free. It's Phaser. There's actually a book out on Phaser. I don't know where, or if they have links to the book. Yeah, I don't see a game. That I know the creator of this, I believe his name is Paul. He created a framework and a book to go along with the framework. But I hear that's really good. I know it's sold really well, but for all intents and purposes, I'm just going to show you how to do everything without a book of what's just available. So, so where I'm clicking, okay, so what I'm doing right now is you can download it. They don't have anywhere except for GitHub that you can download it, which is fine, because GitHub, if you never use GitHub, can be a little confusing, but I'm going to show you a way to bypass any of the confusing stuff. So you just click this nice giant button. You're going to see all this. Don't worry about this. The button you're looking for is download zip. If you're familiar with GitHub, you can just clone it. If you're not, don't worry about it. That's a whole nother conversation. I am sure at some point I'll do a Git tutorial. I recently showed 2 of our other developers how to do it, and it was definitely like a day or 2 of a learning curve. But once they got into it, they're fine with it now. Yeah, they're using it like pros, and that's only been like a week or 2. I love Git, but that again is a whole other conversation. So all you're looking for is this download zip. How I got there is from the I'd favorite this too. Make sure you bookmark this. Bookmark bar sounds good. I'm gonna actually make sure I can see my bookmark bar. How do I show my bookmark bar? Show bookmark bar. Cool. I'm also gonna favorite brackets. I'm gonna favorite the Chrome, even though I'm on Chrome. The irony. But that there I can just point out at the beginning of every tutorial. Make sure you have Chrome, make sure you have brackets, and then we're using Phaser. So I'm just clicking download, and then I'm clicking download zip. That's a 28 megabyte thing. It's not that big at all. A lot of this is like for extra stuff, like development. So they have everything that people are working on to develop all in here, and then they also have a bunch of other stuff. So hopefully you can read this text. I put my monitor at the lowest setting possible. I hope it works. Alright, so you have this folder. Once you unzip it, you have Phaser Master. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to Documents. I'm going to create a folder called Game Development. I'm also going to right click this and pin to start, so I always have a place to grab it from, and then create a shortcut. It's not what I wanted to do. I want it on desktop. Can I create a shortcut on desktop? Here we go. Create a shortcut on desktop, so I have a place to go get it. So now when I'm over here, I have this folder right here. Just a quick way to get back to it. Okay, now that I've created this, I'm going to create my first project, and all I'm doing here is creating a folder called since in this example I can read it. Looks a bit messy on stream, but still okay, cool. Well, I'm gonna try to explain it as much as possible, and hopefully you know, in asking questions we can figure out whatever it is. So I have a game development folder. In that folder I'm going to create my first game development project, and that's just another folder that's going to say Mario, because we're making a Mario clone ish, loosely clone. Inside that, so inside this, to keep it organized, I'm going to create an assets folder, all lowercase. And that's where we're going to store all our assets, images, JavaScript, the library, and everything. So in this, I'm going to create images. I'm going to create another folder called, and you can structure this however you want. I'm just doing it this way because it keeps everything separated. JavaScript. And then one that sounds. So again, I created a game development master folder in Documents, Mario, assets, images, JavaScript, and sounds. Best way to keep it organized. So now what we're going to do is go to that downloaded, go to my downloads, go to Master Phaser. I'm going to extract it, and I'm going to extract it to, can I select? No, I can't. Okay, extract all. I'm going to actually extract it to documents. And then I'm going to call the folder phaser extract. So that's extracting. Yep. Doob 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 boo. So the reason I'm doing Mario, Andy, is because I did a poll a couple days ago. I've been kind of doing these random streams of doing game development on Super Pixel where I make improvements to it, and so I decided to do a poll, and everybody unanimously voted to do a Mario clone. I was going to start with Pong, because Pong's a great little starting thing, but people didn't want to see that. So, alright, so once you've unzipped that in your documents, there's going to be a phaser. Go to phaser master. I think I'm looking through source. No, these are development. Build. Oh, I'm looking for build. I just need a JS file. Alright. All I should need, I can ignore all of that. I just need a phaser.min. And this is this is a production ready mini version of the phaser thing. Do I need the map? I don't think so. And I'm going to double check this by going to, so if you go to here, in the GitHub thing, they have a getting started guide. So we're going to take a look at that and see if we're missing anything. Alright. Hello world. That's going to be what we need. We've already got our tools installed. Alright, I'm going to ignore this because I feel like that's excess. I'm going to instead look at examples. Where's the examples? Used to be a link in here. Phaser examples, browse them along. So I'm looking for this right here. Alright, favorite this. You want this. So the way I like to learn and the way I like to jump into things is looking at examples and then figuring out what is needed and what's not. So that's what we're using right here. So we've got this, tons of examples, and I just want a real simple example. So here's some example games. I need something more basic than that though. So I'm gonna go here. There was tutorials somewhere around here, and I bet you there's a super easy starting guide. I'm trying to, because I recently started a project with this and I had everything set up actually super like OCD, and I don't want to get that OCD. Here we go. Alright, making a first phaser game. Let's go ahead and look at that. Oh man, that text is hard to read. Alright, download source files and assets. Let's go with this tutorial. Alright, I'm going to take a look at this again. This is getting started. Does it tell you how to create your super simple... Alright, I'm going to download the zip file and take a look at it. Because it should have like just an HTML Because that's, yes, okay, so I'm looking where to put this. There's a PNG file, and then the structure of this. I'm going to open this. I don't know what it's going to open in. Can I have a text notepad? Alright, and I'm just going to copy and paste this in, and then we're going to go from there. In brackets, I'm going to go open, downloads, no, documents, phase, nope, game development, sorry, and Mario. I'm just going to click open. I want this to be the thing. Can I just be open? Can I do, what do I have to do? Open folder, that's what I'm looking for. Documents, game development, Mario, select folder. Cool. So, new file, index.html. In here I'm going to paste it. Alright, so this is the hello world thing that we grabbed from there. Now remember, I have my things under assets, JavaScript, which is the language this phaser tutorial is in. Now, I don't want to use the thing from that tutorial because it looks kind of old. I don't know how recently that was updated, so I'm going to go back to Documents, go back to Build, take the phaser min, and I'm just going to copy it. Control C, go back to Documents, Game Development, Mario, Assets, JavaScript, paste that in. So, now this should match up with that. I am going to go grab that image just so we can make sure everything works. So important thing is just having a super simple test whether it works or not. So go over to JavaScript here, assets, images, and paste that image in. There we go. Now this is phaser PNG. Remember, we're at assets, images, and then the phaser PNG. Oops, that's not the button I wanted to press. Good, I didn't mess anything up. Alright, so let's talk about what all this meant. I'm going to make this full screen. So first of all, you're creating basically your basic HTML page. If you're not familiar with this, you don't have to be super familiar with it. Just know that you have your big HTML, your doc type, HTML, everything's wrapped in. Your header is where you do the character set. It's usually always UTF-8. Title of whatever game. So we're gonna do Mario with an exclamation mark. That's gonna be the name of our game, Mario. And then the source of your JavaScript or the phaser library, because that gets pulled in everywhere else. Only other thing you need in here, you're gonna have a window onload function, which just says when the window loads, it calls this. Inside here, you have your game variable. If you're unfamiliar with variable, if you've ever played Mad Libs, a variable is like those underscore things that are like put a noun here, put a verb here. The noun, the verb is the type of variable, and then that empty space that you put your your letter in or whatever, or your word, is what the value of that variable. And then that variable is then basically, in ad-libs you have like, oh, use your verb 1, verb 2, whatever. That's how it gets called. So Mad Libs is a perfect example of how a very simple program works. Creating variables, and then those variables basically go into slots, and whatever value is in those variables gets called when the people want to see the variable. So that's what this is. Variable game. A new phaser game, you're creating a new instance of the phaser game. The size, this is 800 by 600. It's kind of big, but it's fine. Phaser auto, some of these mean something, and for all intents and purposes, we're not going to worry about that right now. You just don't need to. We have a preload script that preloads all our images, or whatever we're going to be using. and then the create. And the create simply basically renders this on the screen. In some of our things in the future, we're going to have like a render screen or a render method. These are called functions. So I'm going to just call them functions. A preload function. Once that finishes running, the create function runs, and that creates your variable that sets the logo, the center of the world, x axis, y axis, your variable here, which is your image, and then set anchor to, I believe that anchors where the beginning, I don't know what the anchor is. We'll figure that out. So now that I have this, I should be able to press this and it will load a browser window and we should see the logo. We do. Good. Everything worked. So my curiosity is, what then does the set anchor method do? So I'm going to comment that out using double slashes and just hit this again and see what it does. Okay, I see what it does. I see what it does. So notice the first time I ran this, this was in the center of the screen. And the reason is we're setting the X and Y, which is the corner point over here, to the middle of the screen. So right now it's sitting in the middle of the screen. Now I want to set the anchor of the image of where it listens to be the X and Y bit to halfway, that middle point. So halfway across, halfway down. And that's what set anchor does too. It goes halfway across the object and halfway down. That makes sense. Cool. That's going to be really useful actually. Because oftentimes, so you don't have to do the math of going, well, here's the width, half the width, minus half the width, minus half the height, and then that be the center of whatever image. So let's say in this little video thing, so up in this corner, boop, is my 0, 0. So if I wanted to get the center of this image, I would go halfway across, so halfway the width, and then halfway down, which is halfway the height. And that would be the center. So using that as an anchor point is going to be really, really helpful, because then everything's not kind of just off over from this corner, but it's off, you know, the center. So if I have a bunch of apples falling, I don't have to like calculate the fact that it's going to be, this is where the main point of where all the movement is, but instead the center, it's a little easier to think of wherever the center. I'm trying to boop there. It's the center-ish. Cool. All right. Cool. Gonna take a quick pause. Any questions so far? So far we've got our tools. Our tools were Chrome, brackets, and downloading Phaser. Now the only thing we needed in the Phaser folder was that JavaScript phaser.min.js. It's the only thing we needed. Then I found in the Getting Started guide the thing for the basic structure of your game. So, and then from there we now can render an image on our screen. Any questions? And if I'm getting too technical, let me know. I don't want to get too technical. Alright, no questions, it looks like. Good. Alright, so now that we have our basic setup here. No questions, I know basic JavaScript and HTML, so I get what's going on. Perfect, awesome. Alright, now we're going to take a look at those Phaser examples. So again, the Phaser examples can be found at examples.phaser.io. And what we're going to look in, so we've got loading an image. Now let's try, moving an image. So the nice thing about the phaser examples is they have it working like this. Look at that. Super Mr. Fancy Pants. He just disappeared. But it's okay, so we're going to take a look. So we already have the preload and we already have the create. So we have everything set up here exactly how this is. They've got a lot more comments. So what we need to do is take a look at what they're doing differently. So they are adding the sprite is what we already did. Now they're not centering it in the middle of the screen. We already took care of that. Okay, so they've got so Phaser has built-in physics. They have several different methods of built-in physics. I'm just going to use the basic arcade physics. Super simple. Basically how they work is when a little character hits an object that it's supposed to collide with, it checks whether they intersect, and then it makes them so they're sitting outside of each other, and that's basically how it works. When I made Super Pixelo, I made my own physics engine and my own collision detection, and I don't recommend you do that unless you really want a challenge. There's a lot to learn, ins and outs, a lot of bugs that are very common that you run into. It's a lot of debugging. If you want to learn it, great. It's a great way to kind of make your own thing, figure out the logic. Great, you know, it's practice. But if you just want to make games, don't worry about that. Every framework has some sort of integration with some sort of physics library or its own physics library. Phaser has several physics libraries: 3-dimensional, 2-dimensional, advanced 2-dimensional. We're going to use the simple one because Mario's a very simple game. We don't need something pretty crazy. So the way in which we basically instantiate or turn on physics for the game is basically what instantiating is going to do game physics enable. Let me double check. They don't have anything other. No, they have no other calls. Game physics dot enable on your image the library of physics, and so we're going to start there. So I'm just going to copy and paste because I don't want to type it all. This is my little guy here. So I named this logo because it's the Phaser logo. So instead of image, it's going to be logo. My game is called var game, so I don't have to worry about this. What else? Cool. Now, so in order to basically do exactly what this did, so if I reset it, so I want to have my logo moving across the screen like that. So what I'm going to do is you're basically making the image a body and then adding a velocity on the x-axis of 150, and I believe that's 150. I don't know what 150 is. It 150 pixels per second? I think it's 150 pixels per second. I think that's how it works. So I'm going to copy the second half, and remember our logo is our variable here. So logo dot, oops, too many periods. Control C, S for control saving. I like adding a little bit more space in here. Now we started at the center X. I'm going to actually go ahead and start this at 0 so that we have more space to watch it roll away. 0. So it's still going to start in the middle of the screen, and it's still that my anchor is going to be set at the center. So we should see this, basically the center of the image be way over on the left. We should. And all I gotta press is that button, and this is why I love brackets. Alright, hopefully it worked. Did it work? Yes, it did. Cool, we see it move across the screen. It's a little bit laggy, and that's because I have so many things running on this computer, and this computer is very old. It's had its hard drive wiped several times trying to revive it. Most recently, a couple days ago, when I put Windows 8 on it, I just wiped the whole thing totally. So it's just old. Alright, good. But here we've got the basic. So what we've got is we've created a. How do you say this? We've created something to play with, and we've made it move. So we're already a good, like, we're already getting there. Like, this is the basics. You could just create a game off of this. You could create a simple game that you could create off of just the fact that you can now move and start is, let's say you asked someone with, like, an alert to guess a question right. And you could have a multiplayer thing, and you could send up an alert box that says, you know, is 5 plus 5 10? And if they say yes, then they get to move, you know, 10 things. So in that case, you wouldn't do the velocity. You would do body.x, I believe, plus equals 50 pixels to the right. So now obviously I need something to, yeah, that's just an example though. I'm not going to go down that road because we're making Mario, we're not making a guessing and answer game. But there's so many simple things you can do just by the fact that we have now rendered an image and now it's moving. Now something to think of when you're doing games, and something that I had a lot of trouble with because I came from a web development thing, and you only render the page once because that's when the browser renders it, and then you update things based on when you click things. So the thing about games is that you have something called the game loop. And again, this is what I had a lot of trouble with at the beginning. And basically what the game loop does is so frame per second is how many times the game loop updates in a second. So basically every frame, something is happening every frame. And so we're about to add a what's it called, a game loop to this game. So we have a create, and the reason it's updating is the way it is now because it automatically has a default, though we haven't created a function called render, it automatically has one in the back end that basically if we set a velocity to, it's going to update that every frame. So we don't have control over that yet, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a function called render. Now I'm going to do that from an example. And I'm going to grab some other examples from it. So here's, they have a whole example of how to do arcade physics. We are going to do, first we're going to do, their example library is amazing. I really think every framework should have a library as good as this. This is so good. So I'm just looking at where to add. Alright, so this is I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm going to take a look at one of these because this is going to be the best example. Breakout, Game & Catch, Invaders. What was the other thing? Oh, I can't see it. I think Star Trek was a platformer. Is it? Yeah. So this is going to have a render loop. So we have a create, we have an update, and we have a render. Okay, so update's actually what we're looking for. Some people have their logic in the update, and the update is basically just updating everything every frame. And then render, if you want to render something, in their case they have a render here that it just has some debug text. We don't need that. I'm not going to do it. Automatically the render is running. All we need is the update. So that's what we have there. What time is it? Because I do need to get going soon. Okay, it's 11. So we've been streaming for about an hour. We've created something and we've made it move. I think this is a good place to stop. You have enough tools to get something. You can add your own images, play around with your own images, look through the examples, play around with those. You could take this, and now that you know where these examples are, you could make your game by just modifying the examples. I've done that before for clients who wanted a real simple platformer, and they just wanted it, hey, we don't care, you know, we want it in like a week. So I'd take that, swap out all the graphics, modify it until it was a new game. And that's a great way to learn. So I'm going to stop here. Remember, you need Chrome or Firefox. I like Chrome. I think it's a fantastic thing, and we'll use it a lot more for debugging. You need phaser, and you need brackets. Those three things. Once you have those three things, that's all you need. Any platform, all three of those things working in any platform. All you need for phaser is that JavaScript library, and then as we'll go, we'll learn more things. So we added a physics thing, and we made a velocity so that that object is physically updating. Alright, that's all I have for today. Thank you, Andy, for being the sole awesome viewer. You've been awesome. I'm glad that you already have a background of JavaScript, and I hope that as this grows, and hopefully will grow into something where it's not just, you know, one person or not just me talking on a blank screen, but hopefully this can be helpful for others and as just a question and answer type thing. I'm going to put all this on GitHub so that you can go and basically use it as a starting template. For now, that's it. Thanks for showing up, and I'll see you next time.